Hello and welcome to Wisconsin, where it's lovely, warm and sunny, and I've been invited to an interesting launch by the guys at Trek. More specifically, I've come to Waterloo, where Trek is based, and they're launching the brand new aerodynamic Trek Mádón SLR, which is the 6th iteration in the product line. And unlike other brands that have launched aerodynamic bikes recently, this bike comes in both disc and rim brake version. I'm about to go for my first test ride on the new Mádón SLR with a bunch of journalists from around the world, as well as Jens Vogt, so it should be a good one, but I'll report on my findings in a little while. But before I go enjoy myself out on the road, let me give you the lowdown on the new bike. Some of you might think, well, it's exactly like the old Mádón, but you'll be wrong in thinking that, as despite looking similar to the silhouette of Mádón No. 5, it has different technologies, geometries, and now comes with disc brakes. But Trek do keep a rim brake version too, something that other brands have not kept producing. This is because Trek believe the customer should always have options, and it also feels that the jury isn't quite out yet on disc brake bikes. However, the Trek Segafredo team going to the Tour de France this year will only be on the disc brake version. I guess the main thing you'll all want to hear is the new bike faster. Well yes, according to Trek, between 10 to 20 grams of drag when compared to the last rim brake version. Okay, yes, this gain is pretty small, but do remember Trek has added disc brakes here too, so you're looking at a watt or two max saving, and that's a saving you'll have over the current rim version as well. Sticking with the rim brake bike, you will lose the vector wings at the front, and now the brake is hidden between the forks. We're yet to see how complicated these are to service, we just hope it's an improvement on last year's. Interestingly, Trek say that all of its bikes are now based from CFD testing, and that the Mádón in particular was treated to well over 1,000 hours of computer testing before a real version was built. Once the American brand had a sample to ride, testing continued and it stuck the bike on its own state-of-the-art rolling road, and as you can see here, this is one serious bit of kit. And this is where we get into the best bit of the new Mádón. Number 6 uses an ISO-speed decoupler like you find on the Trek Domane, and it's found under the top tube, and this is to ensure ride quality isn't hampered and aerodynamics isn't compromised. And so at the softest setting of the ISO speed, you're actually 17% more compliant than the older Mádón, and at the hardest setting, it's 21% more stiffer. You can see here on the rolling road footage of how Trek actually came up with the idea.
Hi, my name is Jordan Rusing. I'm the Director of Road Bikes at Trek Bicycle. I'm here with a new Mádón SLR that has a new technology that we're calling adjustable top tube ISO speed. It's a new type of ISO speed on Trek bikes, and the way that it works is instead of having deflection in the seat tube at a pivot, we have a new tube that's underneath the top tube that deflects. There's also an adjuster underneath that allows you to adjust your compliance, so you can adjust it for more compliance or less compliance based on the road and terrain that you're riding on. The reason that we put it inside the top tube is to provide a more consistent compliance experience independent of frame size, so that the member that's deflecting doesn't change with frame size and allows small riders to big riders to get the same compliance experience overall.
Weight-wise, you'll be looking at around 1,000 grams for a 56cm frame set, which is of course very competitive for such an aero bike, and a lot of that weight saving will be down to the use of the high-end and much respected OVLC 700, the American brand's highest grade carbon. Geometry-wise, you'll get a change here too, and Trek do away with the H1 and H2 frame sets, the former being lower at the front and more aggressive, and the latter higher and less aggressive. Instead, you'll get H1.5, and you guessed it, it sits in between the two former geometries. The other new bits around the bike are the handlebar and stem, where it is now become a two-piece again. A good move by Trek and something we want to see on all aero road bikes, as it allows for versatility in position. Although they are joined together, you still get a 5-degree tilt up or down. With that new system, you can get a low stem or a high stem, which Trek says equates to the old H1 or H2 fits. So we're just back after a 60-70 mile ride on the new Trek Mádón SLR. It's an amazing machine, it's super fast. I actually used the ISO speed whilst I was away, out on the ride. I went from a very sort of soft setting at the start of the ride. At a halfway point I moved it back to the stiffest setting available, and it's very similar to the likes of the Giant Propel in terms of rear end feel, maybe the specialised end bias. Great handling bike, super fast on the descents and on the flats. Part of that speed, I feel, is to do with these tyres from Bontrager and their new deep disc Bontrager wheels as well. They roll really nice, they feel light, almost tubular like. So overall I really enjoyed the experience of the new Trek Mádón SLR. It's a super fast bike. I haven't had much experience with the previous version, so I'm not 100% sure how it does compare, but to me it feels super rigid, super fast and aerodynamic. Next thing will be to get it back to the office and spend some time with it, spend some time on local roads to see how it really tests. Check our website, check our channel as well on YouTube for a full review of the Trek Mádón SLR in a couple of months hopefully. Till next time, see you then.